Guys, here we are, NPS Report. You know, we're going to be trying to do these weekly installments of the NPS Report. The first one that we did that we uploaded, which was a few days ago, was more of a serious topic. So today, I'm going to talk about something that I really like to talk about, which are movies. I love movies. That's a big thing for me ever since I've been a kid. And one of my favorite action stars, and we're going to be talking about action stars today, but one in particular we're going to be talking about Chuck Norris, or as he's known as Carlos Ray Chuck Norris. Now that guy was born in 1940, all right? And he's an action star, been around for a long time. He used to be a kickboxer, he was a fighter, that kind of stuff. Made a bunch of movies, 32 actually to be exact. I've always liked Chuck, you know. I mean, I know there's a whole lot of stuff about Chuck, a lot of urban legend and myths.
Chuck Norris facts.
Yeah, Chuck Norris facts. That's pretty much what it is. Yeah. But he learned, Tang Soo Do was the style of martial arts that he learned when he was in Korea, in Osan, back from 1958 to 1962. He was in the Air Force. He was an air policeman, I think, from what I remember. His first movie role was in The Wrecking Crew, which was a Dean Martin movie. And he played a guy in the house. This was 1968 when he was like 28 years old.
Who was that? Who was the Dean Martin character?
Matt Helm.
Matt
Helm was the name of the character. He was kind of like the American version of a James Bond, you know. So, but that's where he got his movie start. That's where he got his start. Now he had been teaching martial arts in Hollywood, I think, for a few years before that. You know, in between that, when he got out of the Air Force. And then back when he got his first movie role, I think it came through an actor by the name of Steve McQueen that he taught martial arts to. And then from that point on, you know, he took acting lessons, and then his movie career kind of took off. Now, like I said, he made 32 movies in all. You know, he had a TV series, Walker Texas Ranger, which I thought was pretty cool. That was kind of like let's put it this way. He had made a movie back in 80, I think it was 83. Lone Wolf McQuade, where he played a Texas Ranger. So, I mean, look, Chuck is tough, you know. And for me, he was always tough. I mean, there was a span of time from like 77 to like 83 where he made all those movies. Man, there was one in particular that I liked, Force Vengeance. You know, Octagon. Yes, where he played a ninja. I mean, a ninja.
First American ninja.
First American ninja.
First American ninja.
Exactly. I mean, there was a movie that came out called The American Ninja back in '86. Yeah, 85. I think it was 85.
But that was Enter the Ninja.
Yes.
You know,
but as far as the whole concept of ninjas, the first time I saw it was in the Octagon. I mean, he was again. I'm a Chuck Norris fan, and he got his nickname Chuck when he was in the military back in South Korea. So that's where he got it from, you know. And then he's been known ever since then. But yeah, I mean, his movies, I know some people would say kind of campy, you know, and maybe a little bit over the top. But you know what? There's one thing I could always say about Chuck: he never failed to deliver. In fact. Yep. Like I said, he fought.
Did his own stunts.
I
mean, you know, none of the crazy stuff, but the fighting was always on him, and they would.
And his brother.
Him and his brother, the crew. They would work out. They would take time. They would work out all the parts, and then when it came to filming, they would film it.
Right, and in fact, there was a point in time when his brother Aaron Norris, I think, was directing his films. Mm-hmm. You know, because he was a big guy for Cannon Films or Cannon Group, right?
He was their main action adventure star.
Right, right. And you know, and like I said, you know, if you look at any of his movies, I liked them all. Mm-hmm. I mean, I liked all of his movies. I mean, I remember the first time that I had gone to see him at the theater. Well, that wasn't the first time. He came out with Bruce Lee. It was called Way of the Dragon, but they actually renamed it. They called it Return of the Dragon, but it should have been called Way of the Dragon. But where he fights Bruce Lee in a Roman Coliseum, like two gladiators. I mean, two gladiators squaring off. I mean, that was the whole.
That was when probably, you know, as far as like martial arts movies and martial arts movie history, probably the best fight.
It was good. It was good. I mean, here was Bruce Lee, you know, making movies in Hong Kong. Yeah. He had known Chuck. They had met maybe a couple of years before, 2 or 3 years before.
Yeah, they were friends. They worked out together, you know, they trained.
So it was it was Clash of the Titans, Clash of the Gladiators, and it was a perfect setting because we're talking about the Roman Colosseum, you know, because that's where it was filmed. Damn, it's filmed in Rome, you know. So it was a great movie.
Good flick, you know. And then in '83, he does Lois McQuaid with David Carradine, and that was supposed to be billed as a great fight, you know, because David Carradine from the Kung Fu fame, and then of course Chuck Norris, but
Right.
it didn't live up to the hype. It was a good flick, it was a good fight, but it just didn't live up to the hype.
And-
It was nowhere near where the Bruce Lee and Chuck Norris, yeah, in Way of the Dragon, man, not even close.
Well, one of the differences is in that movie there was a winner and a loser. I mean, Chuck was the bad guy,
Right.
Bruce Lee was the good guy.
Yeah, and according to David Carradine, a book that he wrote, back in '91, the title escapes me. I have it in my room, but there's a chapter dedicated to Chuck Norris and Lois McQuaid, and basically it was in Carradine's contract that he could basically not be in the ground for more than just a few seconds, and he wasn't going to get beat by Chuck Norris. Like Chuck wasn't going to kill him, basically, and that was just basically in the contract. So, you know, if you like the movie or don't like the movie, you know, that's up to your own personal opinion. But nevertheless, it was still a good Chuck flick.
Yeah, well, to me, they're all good Chuck flicks. Like I said, going back to Force Vengeance, you know, the concept, you know, it was supposed to take place in Hong Kong, but it was actually in Macau, you know. And he's a head security guard for a casino.
Yeah.
And, you know, the good guy, the bad guy, there's the girl.
The vengeance story, the whole vengeance, you know, scenario, you know. But that was really, really popular in the '80s, and it worked for like all those years, and it worked for his movies, you know. And you know, it was a good flick, you know. It had some decent fighting. It had some good fight scenes in there.
No, true enough. I mean, again, I always liked. I mean, what came out in that fight, the fight that was good in that one had to do with that Japanese wrestler. You know, that played the bad guy.
Yeah.
He played the henchman for the competitor, you know, because it was about gambling, and one guy was trying to unify all the gambling casinos, and he was basically
Cyrus.
Yeah, he was a criminal warlord. See, that's what I like, you know. It was like, here we are in Hong Kong, or not even in Hong Kong, in Macau, and the bad guy's named after an Egyptian god, which I thought was, or not an Egyptian god, but the bad guy wasn't named after, the organization was called Osiris. So, yeah, I mean, it was, again, you know, it's the struggle, you know, like you said, it's the revenge and the struggle and the good guy and the bad guy.
You know, he kills his chick, and he's got to go and he's got to get the guy that did it. He's got to just, you know, beat the hell out of him, you know, or kill him, and just,
Okay, brother, so which Chuck Norris movie is your favorite?
Oh, that's hard. You know, I have to say that one of my all-time, like the one I used to like a whole lot, okay, was the title's escaping me, and I should know it. It's where he fights the indestructible man.
Silent Rage.
Yeah,
That's right, Silent Rage. That was to me, that was kind of like a montage to
the horror flicks.
The horror flicks that were going on in the '80s. You know, Michael Myers. You know, who else was?
That was Michael Myers, Jason. You know, just whatever movies were coming out at the time during the '80s, all the horror flicks. You know, and
those guys were unstoppable. Yeah. Nobody could stop them. But what happens? Here's Chuck.
Yeah, but the difference between like those movies and Silent Rage is that you actually had something that was created by science to be indestructible,
right?
To recover, to almost like a super soldier,
right?
And that's basically what they were working on. That was like a super soldier serum, but what it did to them, well, the guy was already deranged as it was.
Right. So true enough. He was crazy. He was crazy, straight up crazy. But who comes to the rescue? Chuck. Now, Chuck wasn't going to be stopped by some guy who couldn't die. You think Chuck would? No. Chuck was going to show who was boss.
Yeah, he beat
the hell out of the guy.
Nothing would happen to him. He couldn't kill him, you know. But, you know, we're being major spoilers here. And basically, you know, they have this really great fight, and Chuck beats the crap out of him, and just dumps him into a well.
Right, into a well. So, you know, but who saves the day?
Chuck.
You know, so that was a good movie. You know, the one that he got critical acclaim, or that is critical acclaim.
But let's look at it this, all right?
Sure.
So everything up to '83 was just what I'm going to call the classic Chuck Norris flicks. right?
Okay.
And this is like, for the exception of Lone Wolf McQuade, okay, but these were like the pre-beard days, and he still had the blonde hair, and,
Right.
So, and Lone Wolf McQuade was still kind of like that in the sense of the pace and the action, but as soon as he got into the missing in action flicks, and we started in '84,
True.
up till then, up till whatever his more recent movies were, until he, really stopped making movies, or I should say, until he started Walker Texas Ranger.
True. Because
Because he kind of eased off. I mean, he did a few movies here and there when he was in Walker,
right.
but a lot of stuff that he did was a lot of made-for-TV stuff. But as far as like theatrical movies, I have to say I think maybe Top Dog or something was like the last one in '95.
True.
And then before, and that was just kind of
Came out in Sidekick, something called Sidekicks.
'93, and then in '91 was Hitman.
Right.
So those were good movies, but they were nothing like what he did from about '77 to about '83.
True.
Not at all.
True.
But going back to his most critically acclaimed flick was Code of Silence, which of course is the same gentleman that did direct Above the Law, Steven Seagal. And I think also he had something to do with Under Siege, the gentleman who directed Code of Silence. Great flick, good movie. Not the typical Chuck Norris, hands and feet kind of thing. Although there's a good fight scene in a bar, but that's probably about the only fight scene there is in that movie. But other than that, great acting. A good movie, and just a really good gritty movie. Kind
Almost,
of like a neo-noir.
right. Almost like when you're thinking about Dirty Harry and that kind of thing,
like
a
that.
cop movie. It was a cop movie. He was relying more on his acting than being a martial artist.
Right.
In fact, the one that he came out as a martial artist, which one was that one? That he came out with this actress. God, I'm trying to think of that one. Where he fights Bill Superfoot Wallace in the movie.
Yeah, Force of One.
Force of One, where he's a straight up karate man.
Yeah.
That was his character.
Karate guy, competed as a kickboxer. Yeah.
Right. And there was always, in the background of some of those movies, there was always this hint that he had been in Vietnam, and that he had stuff like a special forces,
right.
and that kind of thing. There was always this underlying hint in his movies that he had been in special forces, and that it was occurring during the Vietnam War.
Right.
Because that's kind of where he is in the age group and that kind of thing. Because A Force of One gave you that, because everybody that was fighting had been in special forces.
They were all Vietnam guys.
They were all Vietnam guys. Force of Vengeance.
Force Vengeance, yeah. And then, of course, I think the Octagon.
Right, that there had been this...
Right. There was this whole underlying tone that he had something to do with, special ops, and he was he was friends with the character, with Lee Van Cleef's character.
Right, like the CIA.
Right.
There
was kind of like a anti-terrorist, I guess.
Right.
So there's this whole underlying tone of just, and you had to really read into it because it just didn't come out to you.
Right. So when he started doing those missing in action films, it just kind of built. It was just on the foundation of what had come out in his other movies, as far as, again, the underlying current of special forces, Vietnam, and that kind of thing. But it was interesting because he was in his late 30s when he came out in Breaker, which was in '77. So for that string from '77 to like '83, he made like 7 movies. So he was late 30s to early 40s. And again, my brother's talking about the Code of Silence. That was an excellent movie. It was trying to get away from just being purely a martial artist.
Just a typical you see a Chuck Norris movie, you know what to expect. You know that it's going to be flying kicks, a lot of kicks, because of Hank Sudo.
Right.
And, not a whole lot of dialogue and acting.
Right.
That's why they always put good actors around him to kind of help with that.
True. That was one thing. That was one thing I noticed too. They would always put different, he did less of the acting and more of the action,
Right.
and the other people around him did more of the acting
More
and less of the action.
Right.
You know.
And let's not forget also An Eye for an Eye with the great Tora Tanaka.
Yes, Eye for an Eye, where he plays a cop.
San Francisco cop.
Right, San Francisco cop, and Richard Roundtree, who was his boss.
And the Shaftflex, who was always a rebellious guy,
Right.
plays more of like a straight edge.
Right, and Chuck wanted him in his movie
Yeah.
because he liked those movies and he liked that actor. So it was interesting to see, you know, how it played out that Chuck was actually the rebel, and Richard Roundtree, who had been in Shaft,
Yeah.
was the, you know, by the book.
Sure. And you had when you had Christopher Lee,
Christopher Lee.
and then you had I think it was Rosalind Childs in there, and then Bernie Kaiser.
Yeah, so
You know, so he had good people around him, and of course, you know, the big fight with him and
Professor.
Jordan.
And what's interesting, that guy wasn't even. I mean, that guy was from Hawaii. He had been in the military and that kind of thing.
Cook or something.
Yeah, and he spoke English. You know, he played football in Hawaii, so he was part Hawaiian, part Japanese. But it was interesting.
Yeah.
You know,
it was, and just a good movie, you know, and 1981.
right? And Mako was the other guy that was in it.
Yes.
Right, that was a guy that had taught him. You know, basically taught him martial. It was a good movie. I mean, again, I love Chuck Norris movies, and because they were comfort movies. You know,
Yeah,
you know, it was like there's an obstacle.
Sure, but those are the things that, you know, like for us, you know, at least for me, because I was like a kid.
Right.
So those are movies that I just kind of grew up with, and just kind of like, you know, that's when we kind of had these really good like role models.
Right. Yeah. I mean,
You know.
yeah. I mean, it was like he could take care of it. That was the thing. You know, Chuck could take care of business. It's like, here's an obstacle. They're the problem.
Yep.
I'm the problem solver.
That's right.
That was, and when I'd see these movies, I'd be like, wow, I want to be like Chuck.
Yeah, because I thought Chuck could, like, you know, break steel.
yeah, with his forehead.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, or his pinky. I mean, come on. So anyway, yeah. So if anybody's out there, you know, who's a Chuck Norris or action film, you know, aficionado.
Leave a comment. And even if you're not a Chuck Norris fan, leave a comment anyway. But, you know, be nice, be respectful. You know, we're not a bunch of haters. You know, we're just.
No. So like and subscribe. Like and subscribe.
Right.
Please like and subscribe,
You know.
because again, our topics are gonna vary. You know, we're gonna try to keep it light. You know, and maybe next week, or we'll talk about Bruce Lee, or maybe we'll talk about something else, or other martial artists, or just talk about some films. So we're gonna try to vary it up. You know.
Yeah, you know, this kind of got to go off topic just for about 2 or 3 minutes or less. You know, I was watching some documentaries on the royal family.
Okay.
Don't
Which
ask
royal
me-
family?
The Brits.
The Brits. Okay. Okay.
So don't ask me why. I was just watching some stuff, and you know, I came across this really interesting thing, and it's funny as hell to me, you know, and I'm still laughing about it. But it's a position called the groom of the stole. Okay.
Groom of the stole.
Groom of the stole.
Like like a something you sit on, like a
no,
Not that kind of stool?
no, the other kind of stool.
You mean like the poop stool?
Yes. You know, so the groom of the stool is basically like this high and mighty noble position that not anybody can do. There has to be someone that is very trustworthy, and so, you know, basically it's like the royal ass wiper. Yeah. So
What?
there's an actual position that somebody will wipe the king's butt.
Interesting.
Yeah, I don't know if there's. I mean, I think it
Is that
Stop.
that position still exist,
I
or?
think it stopped a while back, but you know what? Who knows? You know, who knows? Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. But you know, groom.
Oh, groom of the stool. Wow.
I'm the royal.
Yeah, right. Butt wiper. I wonder how much you get paid. You get paid by the butt. I mean, by the wipe, or is it by the hour, or by the poop,
Yeah.
or I don't know.
I don't know. I just know that I was watching. You know, I was like, what the hell is this? Like, you know, I was like, groom of the stool. I was like, shit, just got the royal butt wiper. You know.
Wow.
So how does that work? Are they walking around, prancing around in like in a raincoat and like a roll of toilet paper and an umbrella?
And a washcloth.
A washcloth, you know, it's like, yeah.
A spritzer bottle with water and soap.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. Well, anyway, guys. See, that's what I'm talking about. We're gonna try to keep it light. You know what I mean? We'll probably have a main topic, and maybe we'll go off topic like my brother just did. But anyway, again, like and subscribe. You guys have a good day. Okay. All right.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Peace out.
All right. Peace out. Bye.